Hello again, everybody. This is Tom Hamp with Advocoach in Michigan, and this is Tuesdays with Tom. We do this Facebook Live session every Tuesday at 9:30. Why do we do it? What do we do? We really talk about business issues. We hope that you can join us every Tuesday, but also share this session with others that might need or that might want some business know-how, and also ask questions about these tough topics that we cover. Today, we're going to continue our talk about leadership, get into the 5 practices, kind of mention what they are, and then kind of talk about leadership overall. Again, you can participate by asking questions as well as sharing this video with others. Our sponsor for today's Tuesdays with Tom, as well as every Tuesdays with Tom, is Coldbox Live. Coldbox Live is a professional live streaming service that takes your live videos to the next level using professional production equipment, clear audio, and graphics like nameplates, logos, and more. If you'd like to take the hassle out of your next live video and look professional on screen, visit the link right here to learn more and book your session today. So what we hope that you want to take out of today's session is we want to give you some new thoughts on what leadership is, kind of introduce you to the 5 practices of exemplary leadership, and almost all the information comes out of this book right here called The Leadership Challenge. These 2 authors have done a great job of understanding what leadership's about. They've done surveys and studies. This is in its 6th edition, so again, a lot of good information here, and we'll discuss a lot of it today. So one of the things that I want to kind of ask you, one of the challenges that you're currently facing maybe in your business or your personal life, I want you to think about that right now as we go through this process. And here's some things to think about in that situation. Is this situation going to change on its own, and it cannot, and certainly it can't keep going like this? Is that a situation that you might be thinking about? How about this? A challenge must be addressed to achieve specific goals in your business, or you do not currently know how to best improve your situation. So think about those situations as we talk about leadership today. So once you leave this Facebook Live session, we want to document the specific challenge for sure. So think about the 3 things that I mentioned, but when you have a chance to reflect, you want to be specific. You want to really understand and document who's involved. What is the current situation that's going on? What are the goals of that situation? Why is it important to address this challenge? And then what, if anything, have you already tried? If you can get all that down as far as what this challenge is about, then we can start piecing together how to solve this particular challenge or issue that you've been thinking about. So again, this is something that when we have a challenge, how can we use leadership to advance that challenge to a positive situation and succeed in trying to accomplish what our goals are, what we're trying to get to the end in mind. So as I mentioned before, in the Leadership Challenge, they talk extensively about the 5 practices of exemplary leadership. I'm going to talk to you about those now. They are: model the way, inspire a shared vision, challenge the process, enable others to act, and encourage the heart. And if you continue to come back, we're going to talk about each one of those particular 5 practices in and of itself in each session, so you get a better idea on what they are and how to use those going forward. When we talk about leadership, I really want to talk to you a little bit about what leadership is, because I think there's a lot of misnomers out there. Sometimes we confuse what leadership is versus what management is, and they're not the same. So let's really start here, and that is leadership is everyone's business. I know a lot of times we think that leadership is just those that are at the top, the people that are anointed, our boss, supervisor, the executive, the C-suite, those types of things, but it's not just that. Leadership is everyone's business. If you can visualize, even in a work group where maybe just a area of work that you're in, yes, you probably have a supervisor if you are in that situation, but you can certainly take the lead in a group that you're in and exhibit leadership type attributes. So leadership is everyone's business, and leadership is not it's really not categorized for those that are just bossy or those with the loudest voice. There are some key attributes on what leadership is and how it operates that we'll uncover as we go forward, okay? And then why is leadership not everyone's business? It really opens up a lot of communication, teamwork, if we can exhibit leadership abilities in groups or the people that surround us, whether it's our peers, whether it is subordinates, or whether we're trying to lead actually people that are above us. And that's kind of a tricky one, but it's possible. If you can lead supervisors to certain areas, and again, not manipulation so much as lead them to a certain outcome, a certain goal, that's what we're trying to accomplish. And number two is really leadership is relationship. Okay, it's a relationship. It is two-way. So we want to understand that when we are in a leadership type of setting, that it's two-way. It's not about you as a leader dictating what happens. It's really about getting feedback and updates on where a project or a challenge is going. Okay, so leading versus managing, different. We typically say you want to lead people but manage the process. So if you have processes in place, you certainly manage that and how people react and act within that framework. But when you lead people, it is about that relationship that we mentioned, how we're getting feedback, how we're understanding how people are operating, where they're coming from, what they're, some of the things that they've run into, that they can put on the table and really get a good conversation going about where a particular challenge or opportunity is going. And then first and foremost, it starts with you. If you're not open to leadership, if you're not open to learning that type of thing, then we may have some issues. If you open your mind to say, you know what, we can lead on whatever level that we're at, that's really a good start. So we want to make sure that it starts with you, have an open mind about what leadership is going forward. Leadership development is self-development. It's really about getting better. And at every phase of business and even in your personal life, if we can be better leaders and we can understand what leadership's about, we can also improve ourselves and understand, if we understand what leadership's about. So again, leadership is also self-development. The best leaders, and this is probably doesn't come as any surprise, the best leaders are the best learners. Again, open mind, understand and be willing to learn on a constant basis, whether that's through reading books, listening to books, striving to find additional information that will help your situations out. So again, think about that, is that the best leaders are the best learners. Leadership development is an ongoing process. So we gotta, you never really arrive. We can say, you know what, I'm getting better as a leader, but do you really say I'm the best leader or I've reached the pinnacle of leadership? It's really an ongoing process. So keep that in mind. It's baby steps. We're trying to understand little by little on what it takes to be a great leader. It also takes deliberate practice. So we know that once we start to acquire some of these leadership attributes, that we have to put them in practice, whether that's a role play or whether that's in real play, when we put ourselves into a situation and kind of debrief after we've got through that situation and go, what could we have done different? What could we have done better? When a certain person went in this direction, either in a conversation or an action, what was our reaction to that? Again, this is the part of being deliberate and practicing some of those leadership skills, and it's going to take time. So give yourself a break. Don't be too hard on yourself, but it's a deliberate practice. Leadership is also an aspiration and a choice. I know many times we've probably heard, somebody's a born leader, somebody's been just gifted those attributes. And that might be true in some levels, but overall, leadership is a choice. It's learned. It's something that we can aspire to. So again, it's a choice you make going forward, that if you want to be a good leader and you aspire to be a good leader, you can achieve those skills. And then leaders make a difference. So when we talk about leaders in the workplace, as well as other areas that we participate in, whether it be sports or associations, organizations, that type of thing, you can tell. You can tell when a good leader is in charge of something. It feels good. We'll talk about some of those feelings as we go longer in this leadership on Facebook Live and some of the future sessions. But again, when we feel that we have a good leader in place, it's a whole different feel from somebody that's just put in a position because it's named And that's something that they're going to try to accomplish. So last week, if you remember, I held up a list and it had the 20 characteristics that you look for in a person who you would be willing to follow. And the last part of that statement is that whom you would be willing to follow. Because again, we can have leaders in certain positions and we're supposed to follow them, but a great leader is somebody that you're willing to follow, depending on your situation, to wherever they want you to go. So again, think about that. These are the 20 characteristics. And what these two authors did in the Leadership Challenge is they've done this survey over 6 different times through the number of years that they've had rewritten this book, is that they've got the results of that, and I want to show you that. So there's really 4 attributes that stand out consistently, and as you see on the screen, here are the results from the survey. So you can see that the top 4 have been consistent over a number of different years, 30 years of doing the survey. Honesty, or somebody that's a leader is honest, they're competent, they're inspiring, and they're forward-looking. So that's amazing. Over the time that the Leadership Challenge authors have done this survey, it just is amazing how often these top 4 attributes are always chosen of the 20 or more, because when they first started out they didn't have the 20. But again, those are the top 4. And then when we talk about, does it matter the culture and the area that we're doing this, these leaders on, does it really matter? Here's a quick table on what different countries show as the highest attributes. And what you see in that is that regardless of the area or country that you're in, the same attributes show up. So it's amazing. What you see is that again, it shows the country, and then you see some of the other countries. Now there's some that might be flip-flopped, but again, these are the top 4 attributes that always seem to make the top of the list. So it's pretty clear on what people are looking for in a leader. So when we talk about these attributes, and we'll get into the 5 practices again in the future sessions, but next week I want to have you come back because we're going to talk about each one of these attributes. And again, a leader needs to be honest. They need to be competent, so they need to know what they're doing. They need to be inspiring, so that you understand, the area or the place that they're trying to go, and you get inspired to go with them. And then they need to be forward-looking, so not just somebody that does the day-to-day operations, but somebody that can have some vision about where an organization, a group, or a business is going. So come back and join us for that discussion next week. We'd love to have you. Again, my name was Tom Hamp. We do this every Tuesday on Facebook Live called Tuesdays with Tom. You participate a couple of different ways. Remember, share this video, whether it's live or whether you get it at a later date. Share this video with others. Certainly ask questions at any time you want. And as always, our sponsor is Coldbox Live. Coldbox Live is a professional live streaming service that takes your live videos to the next level using professional production equipment, clear audio and graphics like nameplates, logos, and more. If you'd like to take the hassle out of your next live video and look professional on screen, visit the link right here to learn more and book your session today. Once again, thanks for being here on Tuesdays with Tom. We love having you, and we'll see you next week.